You're listening to Colorado Chamber Office Hours, a podcast that explores what matters most to business. I'm your host, Ed Sealover, Vice President of Strategic Initiatives for the Colorado Chamber of Commerce and editor of the Sum and Substance. Let's get talking. What is leadership in business? It's something for which nearly every executive and every rising executive says they're striving. But an exact definition of the term can be hard to pin down. To dig into what exactly business leadership is and why it's so important to both companies' cultures and to their success, I tagged along in mid-June on a 2-day trip to the Northern Colorado area with Leadership Colorado, a program for rising business executives that's sponsored by the Colorado Chamber. And I got a lot of thoughts from business owners, from up-and-comers, and from the director of the program itself about how this seemingly abstract concept plays out and how people strive so hard to become leaders. So over the next 20 or so minutes, you'll hear snippets of interviews with the director of Leadership Colorado, with the 3 small business owners from Northern Colorado that we got to sit down with, and with 2 members of the leadership program explaining how the ability to stand out and play a key role in their business community has helped them to inspire and guide others, from their own staffers to the customers to the people who count on them to get the job done. And I hope that you too can take something from this conversation that can help you be a better leader in the business community. First up today, we have Molly Kostka. Molly has for 3.5 years now been the director of the Leadership Colorado program. Thanks, Molly, for sitting down with us.
Thanks, Ed. I'm happy to be here.
Well, first, since we're just talking about this program as an example of leadership, explain how the Leadership Colorado program works and what lessons you want it to impart on participants.
The group is learning about leadership through some of Colorado's biggest well-known companies, CEOs, and senior leaders, hearing their perspective on leadership and how they run their companies, the challenges they've had, the things that they've learned along the way. And it's really a great way for the cohort to experience some of the really great companies that we have here in Colorado. They get to do behind-the-scenes tours of these companies and even hands-on experiential learning. And really, it's the highlight of everybody's month.
Well, having been on a number of these tours, I agree with you. This is the highlight of any given month. I'm curious, as somebody who is so imbued in leadership, what to you is business leadership? How do you know it when you see it, and why is it so important?
From going on all of these site visits to all of these amazing Colorado companies, one thing that always stands out to me is learning about the cultures that these companies have created, that these senior leaders have created for employees to show up as themselves, to be able to do their best work, to be able to do it free without micromanaging, for their ideas to be heard. And that's really, I think, what any employee wants. They want to know that their work is valued, that their contribution is important. And I think the leaders that can really create that safe space for their employees and their companies really stand out as really leading a really good team.
Now, I'm curious, you, pretty much by the definition of your job, also are a business leader. So after kind of teaching this to people, how do you try to exhibit leadership to people who are learning that bigger concept?
I try to demonstrate leadership by really the things that I just said. I want everyone to feel included. I want everyone to feel like they have the opportunity to ask questions to these leaders, to provide space for them to get to know the other people in their cohort and develop that networking, which, as we all know, networking can be hard, and it can be hard to put yourself out there. And I think providing the safe space for these rising leaders to develop that skill is really important and something they can take back to their company, no matter what industry they're in, no matter what role they play at the company. Is learning how to develop relationships with other people, to find your similarities and common interests, and together they can all learn how they can make Colorado and their industry that they're in better.
And Molly, one last thing. What's it take to be a part of the Leadership Colorado program?
Anyone can be a participant in the Leadership Colorado program as long as they work at a company that is here in Colorado. Preference is always given to companies that are members of the Colorado Chamber, but we welcome anyone who's interested to apply, and we know they're going to learn so much from being a part of this program.
Well, thanks, Molly. I really appreciate that overview. And now let's hear from some of the business leaders who have gotten a chance to speak to Leadership Colorado on this trip. Sometimes leadership in business means standing for your values while also making a successful and sustainable business. We're sitting down right now with Katie Slota, the co-founder and co-owner of Native Hill Farm in Fort Collins, a farm that produces certified organic vegetables and flowers. Katie, thank you for sitting down with us for a second.
Absolutely.
Uh, and I'm really curious, how do you manage to be both a very sustainable, a very organic farm, and to do it successfully in this business atmosphere? How do you mix your values and your business sensibilities in terms of leadership?
Well, I'll say that we've always had a triple bottom line kind of mentality ever since we started the farm. Um, a quick story: I was at a farming conference probably 18 years ago when we first started the farm, and the gentleman from High Mowing Seed, his name was Tom. He looked out at the sea of people there, and he said that he just looked at us and said, "You know, you are the next generation of leaders." And I was 27 at the time, and it was kind of a scary moment. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like me, a leader? Like I don't know about that." But I really took it to heart, and I think that that was really like an important thing for him to say at the time for me, because it definitely instilled this idea that like we are going to, if we are going to do what we do, we are going to have to be leaders in our community, because people really haven't done what we're doing before. At least they hadn't yet. And so it's been an interesting road, but every decision that we make, we look at our triple bottom line. And so whether it's to, bring on new staff, whether it's to try some new technology, whether it's to partner with the city or the county on service projects, whatever it is, we always want to make sure that it fits into our three category Venn diagram, we'll just say. So that's how we always make decisions based on the triple bottom line.
Is there an example of a decision that you're really happy that you've made that maybe even cost you a little bit, but that has produced much greater return on investment?
Oh my gosh, there's so many examples of that. When we first started the farm, we were really worried about doing a traditional CSA, because at the time, these market style CSAs were not, they weren't very popular. And so we took a chance, and we decided that we wanted to try this market style CSA. And over the years, it's been extremely popular. A market style CSA is where you come to the market or the farm stand, and you have a prepaid gift card, and then you just draw down on your gift card. Managing a 400 to 500 person CSA like that is, it started with 30 people, and now it's, at 500. So it's a lot of extra work for us. But people love it, and they see our line, and because they see our line at the farm stand, other people join, and they're like, "Oh, well, that must be the place to get vegetables." And so it's been like this kind of weird blessing in disguise, and we wouldn't have it any other way, because it's brought us so much business.
You have a 30-acre farm with about a dozen employees. How do you kind of keep up your reputation in the community? That's got to be huge in terms of you're demonstrating leadership and you're building a customer base.
Absolutely. Our biggest marketing source are what we call our working members. So we have actually 60 people that come out to the farm for 3 hours a week, and they help us do anything from weeding to harvesting to bagging the produce, to washing the produce. They are amazing, and they go out back into the community. They have farm merch. They're giving vegetables to their friends. They're talking about us, and we have people that have done this for 18 years. We've had people that come and go. We've had people that and they tell their friends about it, and it's just been it's been a very organic marketing experience for us. And I think those are our biggest. They definitely, as another example of a way that we have taken a chance on the community, but it's come back to to pay back in dividends. So it's been really great.
Organic farming, organic marketing, it seems to go hand in hand. Katie Slota, owner of Native Hill Farm, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Sometimes business leadership means leading down a path that, frankly, no one's ever gone on before. Ed and Marsha Edmunds founded Distortions Unlimited 48 years ago. This is a under-the-radar Greeley company that makes masks, molds, and animatronics of some of the scariest monsters you've ever seen, showing up in haunted houses, house hauntings, all across the country. And Marsha, this is fascinating. How did you come to the realization that this could be an industry of yours?
Well, I started it. Marsha came along very soon after I started company, and basically I was just a kid that loved monsters, and I started painting masks for extra cash at a local novelty store, and made a mask myself, and they wanted to know if they could sell it, and it just became a business. It was just crazy that it happened like that, but it just evolved.
Did you have to convince people, hey, these are something you need, or was it that people convinced you need to make more of these for us?
I would say the latter, because there was a little magazine called Fangoria. I put a teeny little ad in the one ads or something, and it cost $85, which was kind of expensive back in the 80s. And the world found us, and about a year later, we got connected with a huge distributor, and it just took off.
Yeah, nowadays, we have a line of products we do, and so we come up with the ideas and so forth, and then the customers respond. So that's how we know if it worked or not.
Which can be a tricky bet, kind of going into new territory here. What kind of things have you done that customers have responded really well to versus have there been things you've thrown out there the customers are like, wait, what was this?
Well, this year, Frankenstein, is super popular, our new Frankenstein. And that's kind of a sure bet, right? And the new Frankenstein movie and all that. So, and the ghost, we have a new ghost that's up in the air.
Floating.
He's super popular. So, the mainstream classics, people are always hungry for.
I was just going to say, that's kind of our new thing is we take the classics and it deals with people's nostalgia, and that's a powerful selling tool. So we get them with the classics, but we update them and make them affordable and different, but the same somehow.
And one of the things we learned here on the tour that you all just kindly gave the Leadership Colorado class is that while you're kind of in a league of your own, there are major competitors out there, major chains whose name I won't mention, who have started to make some of these animatronics too. How do you stay ahead of that, especially as kind of a small company here in Greeley when you're competing against people with unlimited capital?
Well, we're a real niche kind of company because our stuff is collectible, very made by hand, very handcrafted, and it's all natural rubber and so forth as opposed to plastic. So, it's just a different area.
Well, she's right. It is a niche, but when you can reach the world with the internet, you can find them all because they're looking for you. So we're able to sell stuff all over the world and to people that want crazy stuff. And as far as figuring out what people want, that's where the money is. If you can figure it out before people even know they want it and be like first, that's great. The problem is we fail most of the time. We probably fail. Well, our batting average is better lately, but I used to say we'd fail like 8 out of 10, and there'd be some that are okay, and maybe 1 or 2 hits in the bunch. It's when you're pioneering something, it's really a toss of the dice.
And for people who are fascinated by this conversation, want to see more of it, what's the website they can go to?
You tell it.
DistortionsUnlimited.com.
Easy enough.
Easy.
Ed and Marsha, thank you so much for walking us through your business.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Ed.
Now we are here with Neil Fisher, founder and owner of WeldWerks Brewing, an 11-year-old brewery that is the largest brewery in Greeley and is now sold in 30 states at a time when most breweries are kind of receding their national sales. It's growing. Neil, I'm really curious. You've talked a lot today about how you grew into where you are. Take me back to 2014, 2015. Did you see this being the way that you would grow? And if not, how is it different than you had figured?
Definitely not. I think because we had no background in commercial brewing and professional brewing, we didn't know the industry that well. A lot of it was really just this home brewer going to professional brewing. What do we do? How do we scale up? And for us, initially, we thought we'd have 4 core beers and then rotate in some seasonals, maybe produce 10 or 12 beers a year. We put those in our business plan. We made most of those and kept very few. And I don't think we, even in our most optimistic projections, I don't think we ever thought we'd get to the kind of volume we're at today. But I also think even 5-6 years ago, I don't think we would have anticipated it happening the way it has, where we have demand outside of Colorado in markets like New York, which is a crowded market with tons of great breweries. How does a beer like Juicy Bits still do well when you've got places like Other Half that are, some of our favorites of that same style, or in places like Massachusetts where you're competing with basically all the kind of original hazy IPA producers. So I don't think we, it happened fairly quick after, say 2017, where demand for our beer went from just kind of a more local Colorado demand to more of a national kind of platform. And that's sustaining us today for growth and for kind of either existing markets or potentially new markets down the road.
I'll move a little bit just from the beer talk here, because we've spent a lot of this weekend talking about leadership. And leadership in these cases isn't just about, leading a good company. You, in many ways, are a leader for the Greeley community with what you do, both with your employment here, with the foundation that you've set up. How do you view your place in the community as an employer?
I think for us, a lot of it is taking the not taking it for granted for how successful we've been, how fortunate we've been. A lot of it's being aligned with the right, community advocates as well. And I mentioned earlier kind of our nonprofit approach and how we'd like to make sure we can be a part of all those conversations of addressing whatever needs Weld County and Greeley have. Not that we're going to have solutions, but we can be a part of coming up with those. So it's not just donating beer for causes, but being a part of those conversations in a bigger capacity. A lot of it is really just we have so much talent in our team and in Greeley here with both makers, leaders in business, that it does give us kind of a wave of momentum that we can be a part of as well. A lot of the first year we were open, trying to get our name out there, trying to pour at every festival we possibly could across the Front Range. A lot of the questions we got, maybe even the first 2 or 3 years, was why Greeley? And it used to bother me a lot because it was like, well, it's my home. I don't know why not Greeley. But it became more of an idea of like, because in Greeley, as a small business owner, I do have a capacity to move the pendulum in a direction that I want to be a part of. I don't know if you have that same autonomy in bigger communities. Not to say that you can't and you should just be relegated to the sidelines, but I think I look at even New Belgium and Fort Collins and the impact they've had in that city over the last 25 years. It's almost impossible to remove that. I don't know if you could open a brewery in Fort Collins today or in Denver or in Boulder that could potentially have that same impact. I'm not saying it's impossible, but in Greeley, even 12 years ago, that was hey, we want to be a part of what is next for Greeley. We want to be a part of the growth and working with existing businesses and existing kind of community leaders, and also paving a path for new businesses and new community leaders. So I think that's a lot of the reasons we've been able to grow is because there's a lot of untapped potential here in Greeley, a lot of creativity. Obviously, you guys got to visit Distortions earlier, which is, all these really amazing creative businesses that don't exist outside of Greeley. A lot of people don't know about them, which is kind of sad. We're trying to do a better job telling those stories, but it's not unique to WeldWerks. Like, there's a spirit of innovation that I think is so unique, and we just want to help perpetuate that in any way we can.
Neil Fisher, founder of WeldWerks, thanks for talking to us about being a business and a community leader.
Cheers.
Now, after all that, I wanted to sit down with two participants in the Leadership Colorado class. So we have Mikala Tomkins, who's the Assistant Service Center Manager for Ent Becoming Wings Credit Union in Colorado Springs, and Hailey Beatty, who is the Manager of Governmental Relations for the credit union. Both of you kind of have come at this program from different angles. Hailey, let me start with you. You were called on to really form a whole new division at your company. What does leadership mean to you? How do you try to put forth leadership in kind of starting something from scratch?
I think for me specifically, it has been really helpful to be able to see how everyone interacts in this program with one another. Part of what I am trying to do at Ent Becoming Wings is to try to get our frontline and retail more involved and civically engaged in governmental relations. So I think being able to be with other like-minded, industry-minded people and just seeing how they're able to do those things, it's been really helpful to bring that back to my work and ultimately the front line and find different ways to get them involved.
And what's it been like kind of starting the governmental relations program up from scratch? Like, how much do you kind of have to step in and demonstrate leadership, maybe to a company that's still asking, are we doing the right thing here?
So my boss started about a year before me, so he technically started it from scratch first, but my role was really to get the front line involved. So a lot of that has looked like going to the front line and having meetings with them and just explaining what this is and why it matters to them. We've been having elected officials come out for morning meetings as well as candidates just to kind of get them more involved. And normally I preface it by saying, hey, I'm not telling you how to vote, but I can tell you that this, individual in front of you is credit union friendly. So that has been really helpful for our frontline, I think, because then when we're maybe asking for a contribution to our PAC, they're like, oh, if I contribute to the PAC, this helps that person that I met that I know is supportive of us.
Now, Mikala, you have a leadership role that I think is more traditional in some senses. You're literally helping to run a facility. What does leadership mean to you in general as somebody who is over that facility?
I think that leadership to me, a lot of people nowadays focus on numbers and they focus on, we have to hit this goal by this time. We have to have these things done by a certain amount of time. And for me, leadership, a lot of the time is just about finding people a space to belong. And that's where my leadership style comes from, is I'm really just the kind of person where you come in and if I care about you and you care about the work that you do, the numbers and all of the production and the success of the company will follow afterwards. And so while it's a traditional role, I think that working for a credit union, our unique perspective is we wouldn't be there without our members. And so really kind of finding the space to make sure that my team can be their best selves, so that way all of the different types of members who walk in from our community, no matter what they look like, they feel like they have someone who they can trust and talk to.
And I'm curious, how many people roughly are on the team underneath of you?
Right now I have a team of 18.
Okay, that's a substantial amount.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, is there kind of a leadership motto or a leadership lesson that you've taken either from this trip or just from any mentor that you try to pass along to the people who are working for you?
That's a good question. And I think that probably the biggest message I've ever taken is a lot of the times we're all just trying to write our own story, but sometimes we need someone to help us find the prompt. And so the leadership lesson that I've taken is sometimes you need someone else to believe in you before you can believe in them, or before they can believe in themselves. And so I think that for me, the lesson that I've taken from this program is it's so crazy to see how all of us in all these different industries are going through very similar things, yet we become siloed in our own organizations sometimes and siloed in perspectives that we see. And so overall, the lesson that I've taken from this program is being able to connect with other people and being able to find other people's perspectives. You're able to adjust your own leadership style and bring that into other people. One of the things that I was able to take back is in the beginning of this program, we had the I don't remember his job title, but there was a representative from Snooze who came out, and he kind of talked with us all about finding our values in leadership and why those are important to us. And at the end of that, he had us all send a text message to someone that we care about. Long story short, I had a MSR, that's what we call the member service representatives, below me, and he was really struggling, and I was like, well, what makes you feel like you? And he's like, well, when I can tell other people that I appreciate them. And I was like, I want you to go into the back room. They usually aren't allowed to use their cell phones in a financial institution, and I want you to text someone who you really appreciate and tell them how much you care about them. And, even though that was something small that I learned in this program, he has come back to me probably 3 times since then and been like, Kay, if you wouldn't have had me do that, I don't know what my life would have looked like that night. Like, I was in a very dark place. And so that's just one of the little nuggets that I was able to take from the program back to my leadership style. And I think there's so many other things that I could talk about for a while.
Yeah, well, Hailey and Mikala, thank you so much for sharing your learnings and some ideas that I'm sure the listeners will think about on how to be business leaders.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all for this episode of Colorado Chamber Office Hours. Once again, I'm Ed Sealover, Vice President of Strategic Initiatives for the Colorado Chamber of Commerce and editor of the Sum and Substance. I'll keep the conversation going at tsscolorado.com, and we'll see you next time as we explore the issues that matter most to business.